Welcome back, everybody. Americans are beginning to get angrier just with the status quo, the way that things are. People just have had enough, right? Things are teetering in a negative direction. They're getting worse. Things are getting more expensive. Life's getting more difficult. People are becoming more crazy, more unhinged. And I think this perfectly encapsulates that. Let's have a look.
I have to rant about this. I post a lot of different kinds of content on my page. I'm fine with that. I don't even know where to begin. I'm genuinely filled with an immense amount of rage. Because I'll be clear to start off, there is BS all over the world. There's so much BS. People are dumb. People are stupid. People are beautiful. People are smart. People are everything. There's going to be BS no matter where you live in the world because people are BS, okay?
This is something I absolutely agree with as someone who's lived in different places on this beautiful planet, and that there's idiots everywhere. There's dumb people everywhere. There's cruel people everywhere. There's kind people everywhere. You get a mix no matter where you're at. Now, the systems that revolve around these places are often, yes, far better. But if you think you're going to go anywhere and it's just going to be a perfect utopia, you're mistaken. It doesn't exist on this planet. I'm sorry.
Start there. But you mean to tell me this country has bred an entire society of dumbasses, designed dumbasses, not just designed dumbasses who actively fight against each other while they're actively getting fisted straight up the ass over and over and over and over again. And we always get caught in the same game. It's rinse and repeat, the same strategy. We call it out, but nobody does anything because everybody's fucking pussy. Everybody's running scared because they think they got no power. We don't have to be lovey-dovey. We don't have to be best friends. I'm not asking for world peace and unity because people are too stupid for that. That's just not how life works. There's inherently struggle. I understand. But can you give me a month? A month! Can we all just say enough's enough for a month? For one singular month. I mean, damn, you have no idea what would happen if everybody said no for one freaking month.
Unfortunately, there's been an absolute, very successful campaign waged against any kind of solidarity in our nation. Anytime we come together, there's a new distraction. There's something that's meant to pull us apart. And the entire thing is done on purpose. And everyone knows it. But still, right, we fall back to our tribes and we just want to fight it out. We think that that's going to get us where we want to go, but it gets us right back into the same fighting pit in which we're trapped in. And that's what life in America is becoming. And it's the same that it's become in many places of the world. It's just a fighting pit that the working class and working poor, the middle class, exist in, where they fight for the scraps of the wealthy. And if we did have some kind of solidarity, if we did have some kind of collective understanding that we can use our strength to actually achieve some kind of nominal equity in our lives, then that kind of peace that we strive for, the kind of escape from the chaos of the 24/7 news cycle, if we just escape from that for a moment and had some kind of peace, I think that there would be a kind of clarity. And that's why it's so important for those who are in power in our country to keep us so distracted and to keep us so tuned in. Because if we tune out, we see each other. But while we're tuned in, we don't see each other. We only see the fight. And the fight is all that matters.
You think you have no power. You have all the power. You are so much more than what they taught you were. You are meant to scrape the sky. You are meant to dream. You're meant to live. You are not meant to drink dirty ass water and fund war crimes and then fund another fucking nation's health insurance while you can't afford freaking insulin. While your grandparents takes off life support because you can't afford it. Or you go bankrupt because you gotta get a tooth pulled. This shit's insane. people buying this shit and saying yes and then fighting me because I'm trying to help everybody. It's absolutely maddening. I feel like Peter Quill when he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, and Rocket look at him and says, why the heck do you want to save this stupid galaxy? Because I'm one of the idiots who lives in it.
That's a good point. And honestly, it's one of the things I get on this channel a lot is when you speak up about these things, you try to shine a light on some of the issues and in some of the ways that we can change things, but it's not usually welcome because it causes people to confront the fact that they support policies and agendas that drive people into a kind of despondent misery. You know, I do believe this, that we're supposed to live lives that are greater than what we are here. With the advancements that we've had, with our ability to produce food in just the amounts that we can, the fact that hunger is still an issue on this planet, the fact that you can get buried in medical bills over a routine procedure of something that could have been absolutely preventable, but a healthcare system is designed to tap you out. So people just avoid going to the doctor. And that's one of the reasons why so many Americans nowadays are dying from preventable diseases. But when you bring up something like, maybe we can have a national healthcare system like they have in Great Britain, you're met with nothing but hostility. You're met with accusations that you hate this country. But the fact is, you only want programs to exist that benefit people. But people are so brainwashed and propagandized to think that any kind of deviation from the way that things are, whether it have positive consequence or not, is an attack on that system. And because you've so bought into the whole thing, that it's an attack on you. The most people, whether knowing it or not, have become the guardians of their own oppressors. And I think that a lot of people are waking up to this. And a lot of people are confronting this for the first time. And as a white guy, right? As a tall white guy, although a little bit ginger here. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I never had to go through that my black friends did. That's a fact. You can try to say, the privilege thing, well, I grew up poor. I grew up poor. But still, I can recognize the benefits of being white in this society. I'm not an idiot. I understand when I go to Southeast Asia, and I'm treated much differently than my black friends who would be there, right? It's a reality. But for the first time, white people in America are starting to feel a bit left behind and down and out. And that's something that we're not used to. And I think it feels more uncomfortable. So when you have voices coming from the black community saying like, well, now you're starting to understand, that's not something that we should meet with hostility. It's like, maybe you're right. Maybe we should look at this a little bit more, because things are changing. And the power classes have shifted because there isn't enough resources just to milk the minorities anymore. They need to create new classes that they can extract from. So the working class, the middle class, you become the new segments of population that are just ripe for extraction. We're all in this together. We're all in this together.
At this point, I'm just gonna leave. What am I fighting for? Like Cole said, don't save her. They don't want to be saved. Sweet dreams are made of this. Some of them want to abuse you. Some of them want to be abused and used by you. People don't like to admit the fact that they are sheep. Everybody is. You all will follow something. But you mean to tell me you're going to have someone repeatedly screw you over, and then you're going to keep saying yes just because they got some money? No. They're playing a game hundreds, centuries ago. They set themselves up like that so you couldn't have shit. And you are living with the scraps saying, yes, this is enough. Don't take my scraps. The people on the ground level are my problem. No. Them motherfuckers can't check us if we lock in a month.
What do they say? The richest 400 people in America have as much wealth as 50% of American population. It's a system of unbridled greed that we exist in, and we're just trying to survive. But there's this idea that we're all millionaires in the making. We're billionaires in the making. If I just lock in and do what I'm told, right? If I just work 80, 90 hours a week until the day I die, even though, income isn't meeting inflation, even though the likelihood of you becoming a millionaire, a billionaire is so low that no matter how hard you hustle, the fact is for most people, it's just either luck or you were chosen or born into it. But instead of actually coming together and looking at the system and saying that this needs to be reorganized into the favor of the people, we would much rather look at those places, those spots that we think are vacant, that we belong, right? If I work hard enough, I can be one of those millionaires and I can rise up and I can have a greater piece of the wealth than everyone else below me. It's a kind of admiration of unfairness. Right? We want to be above people. There's something sick in our culture where we don't see the wealthiest. We don't see those with the most power as the powerful, at least not in the terrible way that it should be. Right? You should look at those who lord power over you with skepticism at the least, derision actively, but mistrust should take primacy over all those feelings. But we trust the authority of the wealthy because it's proof, right? Their wealth is proof that they're right. And this is something that goes back. I think there's Thomas Hobbes in Leviathan talking about, wealth in itself is an asset that represents honor. To be wealthy is to be honorable. To be honorable is to be powerful. We exchange these things ideologically to mean something that is just not there. It's a social proof. But in a society that's socially ill, is the proof that justifies that abuse actually credible? No, of course not. But again, it's easier to envy and think that one day if I save my pennies, I can become a billionaire, right? If I come up with the right idea, I can be an Elon Musk. We don't need more Elon Musk. We don't need more Jeff Bezos. We don't. We need more normal people who identify and understand the strength that they have in a collective awareness of the moment that they're in what needs to be done, and what systems need to be addressed, restructured, reformed, or ripped apart. It's complicated and incredibly simple, the lives that we live.
For 1 month! Can you just show me that you can do it? But the reality is, the system works so well. People are so willingly and happily stupid. They love it. Ignorance is bliss. And then you add willful ignorance, it gives them power. They feel empowered to be ignorant. All the while, you're still drinking dirty-ass water. We done forgot about the people in Appalachia. We done forgotten all the Native Americans who lived here. Every indigenous black, brown person gets repeatedly screwed over. But we use exceptions to brainwash people into thinking that the game's working. It really works for you. But the reality is the system eats itself. You see it now. Capitalism always fails because greed is insatiable.
I got to make a comment here because you mentioned Appalachia, and that's my turf. So listen, I've talked about sacrifice zones on this channel before, and it's essentially an economic area or a population where the resources that can be extracted from it are worth more than the lives or the infrastructure of the places that it's being extracted from. And I think that this is something that used to strictly be Appalachia back in the 19th century, really. And even into the early 20th century. But it's expanding now, right? As there's more greed in the system and there's more opportunity to extract wealth and resources from different populations, what you're starting to see is a spread of those sacrifice zones. And it goes beyond city, it goes beyond urban and rural. It simply goes by class. Those who are outside of this specific class are subject to wealth extraction in a way that those within that bubble or not. Their rules are different than your rules. Their lives are different than your lives. Their worth is more than your worth. Congratulations. You are living in a sacrifice zone. And once we see that and once we recognize that, it should be easy to be addressed. Because we say, no, we don't want to just be a cow from which we're milked. for profit daily. We want more. We are people with lives. We are people who are deserving of some kind of recognition that we are individuals in this great collective mass that's living in the United States, that we are a nation, a community, something greater than the idea of what the United States is now, but just what we are in one large population in the human race.
Physical needs are insatiable. All the 7 deadly sins, physical needs are insatiable. They will never have enough money. There will never be enough money. There will never be enough accomplishments. There will never be, because you will not fill the hole of a lack of a community. You will not fill the hole of a lack of love, a lack of empathy. No dollar sign will ever freaking do that.
One of the biggest validations of this comment right here, that statement. Anytime you hear somebody from the travel community say that, once they left America, it was amazing. It opened their eyes up to what life can be like. Community, food, healthcare. Simple things, right? But something as simple as community is something that we've forgotten just how impactful it can actually be on our lives, because we don't have community in the United States. But, like when I moved to Greece, there's community. When I live in Mexico, there's community. When I live in Southeast Asia, there's community. When I live in Turkey, there's community. An idea of a cohesive narrative and a cohesive understanding that our actions affect others is very important, but it's something specifically that we're lacking here. And as the technocracy gets more entrenched and AI becomes more of a factor, we are in great danger of losing just the faintest idea of what that is. And that corruption, that societal corruption, will continue and spread throughout the world until eventually humanity has been so consolidated, our human experience has become so consolidated and minimized and broken into parcels in which can be monetized for some greater corporation above us, the God algorithm, that it's over. And so you fight against it because you have to. Because there is a struggle for the soul of not just Americans, but of humanity at this point. And at the heart of humanity is community. I 100% believe that.
I don't want to play this game, bro. This game is stupid. What you do with your life is your life. But basic needs should not require a civil movement to get. Food, water, housing? We can't get those 3 things, food, water, and housing. People don't have access to that across this entire world. By design. And they'll sell you this American life is so good. There's so much opportunity here. You should be grateful. My opportunity is created off of the backs of people who can't fight, who don't get their voices splattered to the world. My so-called privilege is bought, is exploited. I'm just detached. I don't want my money, my time, my energy, my tax dollars, my effort to go to funding genocides, war crimes for corporate interests. If the price of bananas goes up because people who actually grow the bananas get to actually reap the profits from it, whoop-dee-doo. If our taxes go up because we're actually funding public transit, we're actually providing health care, we're providing assistance to those who need it, and everybody still makes money, whoop-dee-doo.
I think most Americans actually understood. Healthcare is a big thing, and I don't think people truly realize how much that cost us, right? I mean, you can pay hundreds of dollars, almost $1,000 a month if you have a family or more, right? And still, when you go to the doctor, it covers nothing. Now, imagine if your taxes went up marginally and you didn't have to pay for a middleman. The government actually had the ability to leverage its institutional power to keep prices down, just like everywhere else in the world. You would actually pay less because of the tax increase than you would off of the premiums and monthly insurance payments that you have to make from your paychecks. It's that simple. But in our American minds, it just seems impossible. But why is it only impossible here, not everywhere else? Or why is it normal to have access to healthcare in every country except ours? And this is something that we should think about, and why we feel so hostile about the idea of universal healthcare or of a nationalized healthcare system. Because doctors get paid less? I mean, I think if the wage of everyone came down to an appropriate level, that would make more sense. We shouldn't have people who are making $20,000 a year and people who are making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. There should be a baseline, or at least the wealth disparity should be reined in significantly. Because the more wealth is captured by those at the top, the less wealth is available to the 99% of those who are down here in the fighting pit.
They've convinced you that helping yourself and others is a bad thing. Think about that. Think about that. Life is hard enough, but they convince you that if you help somebody else, that's bad. No. And to everyone saying, well, we have to the No Kings protest. We have to organize and be really cool. But will we have an area for the kids to stay while we protest? No! Cut their heads off! And if you've been someone who's been oppressed, you know what it's like. They used to eat niggas who look like me. They didn't allow black and brown people into this country. And even then, you're just a dollar sign. So no, I don't want to play this game anymore. And if we all lock in for just a little bit of time, I promise you, you will create the American reality. A dream. I want reality. I want results. And if I gotta take somebody's head off to do it because they're pushing millions of people down, then so be it. This shit.
I completely understand this energy and emotion, and I think it's becoming more common. Listen, we talk about things going downhill, and there's always a call of there has to be some kind of massive reform, extreme reform, revolution even. And I think that this is the only way that this actually happens. As brutal as it sounds, I speak hypothetically because I would never call for revolution on my channel. I would never do that. But at some point, in order for change to actually happen, real change in this world, with the amount of power that's stacked against the people, is through physical revolution. Truly, I believe that. I believe that that's the only case. Words and politicians can change things within the margins of acceptability of the way that things are. But anything outside of those margins are seen as an enemy to the system. And the wants and needs of the people are existing outside of those margins. To fulfill those things are seen as hostile actions towards this system. So, if our wants and needs are seen as hostile towards the system, then out of necessity, shouldn't the people be hostile to that same system? Food for thought. Not calling for anything, just saying, at some point, maybe not even in my lifetime, right? Maybe the American people and the people of the West have become so docile that they'll let things get so bad that they'll just become some kind of modern slave. But I like to think that they're stronger than that. I like to think that the people of this world are the descendants of survivors, people who've lived thousands, hundreds of thousands of generations, of people who've survived the worst things, tyrants, plagues, aliens, the worst things, and have survived to this moment. Now understand that you are the descendant of some of the most fierce survivors to ever live. And be strong in who you are. Don't think that you're just a failure, that you don't deserve. Your ancestors fought through so much. They survived through so much in order for you to be here now. You are the legacy holder of that. You are the legacy holder of those people. And to think that, some rich tech bro from San Francisco, because he learned to code early, should reign over you and tell you when it's okay to go to the doctor and how much it's okay for you to pay for rent and for food, be stronger than that. And I think that we all need to be stronger than that. I think that radicalism in our voice and in our hearts need to grow. And the idea of what is radical needs to become more normalized and acceptable. That's the only way that things actually change. Because this attitude, this energy, this emotion, this will become not radical. This will become normal. Because this is a default setting for those who are oppressed. And it's either replace the system or escape the system. Those are really the two options that we have. And we should think about that. But if you're still here at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you so much. Like and subscribe. Think about becoming a member. Donations, always glorious. We appreciate it. No sponsors on this channel. We're not doing it. You can always hop over to the Discord and chop it up with those sophisticated people. I can't understand half the things that they're saying, but we appreciate you here. And these are darker times and things are getting more difficult, but that doesn't mean that it's over. It doesn't mean that the fight stops. It doesn't mean that your fight stops, because you're always in the fight. As long as you're breathing, right? There's still hope to get to where you want to go or where you need to go. Even if that place that you need to go is an escape from the system that you're in. Because like I said, we can confront these things, but until there's some kind of collective understanding and solidarity of a direction that we need to go, and it's actually accepted beyond party lines, because people realize that their wants and wishes are outside of the accepted margins of the system, then nothing will change. And we'll just be ranting on TikTok, making very solid points, but making points into the ether. Thanks for stopping by.